Get my paper real quick. Then we're gonna jump right into it. All right, so let's do this. Let's do it. All right. So first, thank you very much for jumping on, being a part of this. So first off, if you don't know, I am the CEO and publisher of Madison and Park. Now, Madison and Park is a global branding and marketing firm, and what we do is we provide global strategies and marketing for nonprofits, for corporations, and for individuals who are creating projects. So even those who are leaders in their particular field or expertise, they contract us in to help build out their platform to take them from being local to being global. That's what we core do on all spectrums, right? But then we, about 5 or 6 years, well, now it's been about 5 or 6 years, we opened up the division for publishing, which I've already had the publishing company for about 13, 14 years. So what we did was we just merged the publishing house under Madison and Park's agency. And so when we did that, what we do now is we help develop and we distribute books that's only catered to personal development, motivation, and those who are experts in their field. So if you have a memoir, autobiography, if you want to talk about a particular topic that's catered to your field of study or your career path, we're all for it. Anything that's about empowering, so any personal, you got some empowerment books for women, or you got some things that you want to do to inspire children, even children's books, that's what we do. Our distribution chain goes into about 30,000 online and offline stores, and we tap into about 100. I think now it's like 120, 130 regions and countries around the world. And so with that, meaning is that when we publish a book, you can be in London, you can be in Australia, and when you have books that need to be ordered, we have printing factories and houses that are in those particular regions that will make sure that your book gets to you within 3 to 5 business days, rather than you having your books being printed and shipped from the US and have to take time to go through customs and then may possibly lose, your packages of books. So we have a global chain where we literally publish a book, and then we are on many of the main platforms. So in the US, a lot of the main ones is, of course, Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles. So all of our titles are in those catalogs. We go through Ingram Spark, of course, is one of our main platforms as well. And so we do it where, and again, because of the times, we have it where for our authors to make it easy for them, that we can allow them to have a print on demand platform. So whether they want one book or they want 1,000 books, as their publishing house, we'll be able to make sure that that is possible for them, so that they can start to build up their revenue stream as authors. And then so over the years, now we have probably close to 30 titles that we have under our belt. We do not accept every book or every manuscript, even though authors have to pay a fee to publish under us. But we kind of go into details of knowing and understanding what the person is trying to do, who their readers may be, and what the market is looking like for them. And then also as publishers, our goal is not to just publish your book, but we try to make sure that we can market your book properly, and help design a particular culture and brand around your book and you as an author. Some of our projects that we have, of course, as you know, I got a couple of books here, so you can see, boom, some of my books that some of you already have. These are the hardcover ones. This is one of my latest authors who's from the Netherlands. So we published her book, hardcover copy. And then also another of my authors who actually was a part of the NBA. She was a Brooklyn Nets dancer. And so she gave a short memoir to empower women. So this is one of the books that we had. And these are two. One is one of my US authors, and this is one of my authors from the Netherlands. And so they both have been very successful with their books, and even the insight that I'll be sharing with you today that I have shared with them as well. And so I created this agency, and just to give you the background, I created this agency because I was publishing books for myself over the years, since I was a speaker. And what happened was, when I would travel around the world, because I was doing book signings, I was noticing that people who were considered bestsellers were not actually able to travel were not actually around the world in these particular countries where their book might have been available, but they were not there physically. So they never were able to get promotion behind the books if they had a potential market for it in, let's say, Mexico or Santiago, Chile. So what happened was I said, man, listen, there's so many authors in the US who are publishing books and people in these other countries that I'm going to, but they're not maximizing their potential. Like these books are literally not moving off the shelf, or people don't even know about it. So I realized that authors need help in marketing and publishing their book. So I said, why not I create an agency that catered to not just branding and marketing, but also helping the authors. And so Madison and Park was birthed along with the merger of, it was at one time it was called Rogor Publishings. So once we did the merger, everything was under Madison and Park, and we really started looking for authors from around the world who had great stories, and we can publish them and also get behind them to help them put together strategies for their brand and for their actual book. So that's what we did, and also again, that's my reason. So because I'm an author myself, I know exactly the do's and the don'ts, where to go, where not to go, and also how to do a test run on your book and your story. So, and welcome to everybody that had just jumped on. I just wanted to say, big shout out to you guys for just joining, getting this information. I see a couple of familiar profile names, so glad you guys can jump in. All right, so let me give y'all some data, right? So here's the deal. So books. I actually wrote a lot of this stuff down for y'all because it's a lot, but I want to make sure you have all this information, because if you got it, you know how to be able to create your book. So the industry itself now, like we don't have the most data that we do have now stems from 2018. We're starting to get the numbers in from 2019. But right now in the US alone, there was 675 million printed books that were sold in the United States alone. 190.9 million were sold in the UK. And in Australia, the number was just valued at 312 million. So again, 675 million books were printed over the last 2 years. And again, this is just from 1 year. So 675 million books were printed in the US, and then 190 million were published in the UK. Now that's a lot of books, right? And I know that we are into, like, everyone's talking about like digital, like, so people want to do ebooks first, right? And they don't want to do like hardcover or softcover. Well, the thing about it is, what people don't realize is that actually hardcover books are actually outselling digital books. So if you just have an ebook, you actually are missing a lot of opportunities and a lot of money on the table. And here's the reason why. When you are publishing a ebook, right? Like, it's on your phone, of course. It may be on one of the platforms. You look at it on your one of your platforms that you use for technology, right? But there's experiences that happen when a book is on the table. When you go to the doctor's office, or when you go to someone's office, right? Or when you're at someone's home and it's on a tabletop. So these become business cards. Like, they are more than just reading a book. They actually are your presence. It's your physical representation, literally right there. So be mindful of that as I'm just dropping some jewels as I'm giving you the data. Now, here we got the new digital platforms of ebooks, right? And audiobooks generated over $1 billion in revenue every year thus far. So over the past 5 years, audiobooks and digital and ebooks on a digital platform have literally given out has brought in a generation $1 billion every year. And so that's a big chunk of change. And again, that knowing that data can let you know like what you can possibly capture using a hardcover, softcover book, but also what it looks like when you're on a digital platform. Okay. Now, are y'all getting this? Just shoot me a thumbs up. Let me know if the data is starting to flow for y'all, if y'all liking what I'm talking about, and so that I can keep going on those subjects. Right now, most people think, probably, a lot of people have been publishing on Amazon, which is a great platform as well. You tuned in. Okay, James, I see you. So, all right. So, for example, Amazon and other publishing platforms, they don't release their data about how many books are being sold under their platform, right? Right now, Amazon is considered the number one publishing platform for like independent authors, right? Because it's easy, they don't check anything. You can have misspellings, you can have all that stuff, and they just want you to upload your book. It's on their platform, but there's a lot of things that comes with that. So when you're publishing your book independently, like say on Amazon, you have the full responsibility of everything. So when you're with a publishing company, you have a team that's supposed to be with you. So while you're writing your book, they should be working on your marketing plan. They should be focusing on talking with you, having meetings with them about who's your target reader, what is the reading level of the target market that you're trying to talk to. And so a lot of times authors don't realize that if they have a book or if they're writing a book, that these are very important. Why? Because, for example, if you're writing a book and you're catered to inner city youth, and you have so when you talk about inner city youth, you got to look at everything detail wise. So look at demographic, school reading levels in there, because you don't want to be able to write a book that will go over your target market's head, right? So that means that you got to look at the spacing, how big is the font. Is the reading level up to par? You can't do 12th grade reading level if the 12th grade in actuality is not at a 12th grade reading level in that particular demographic or that market that you're trying to tap into. So a lot of times people don't realize that these little details needs to be understood and fulfilled so that you can have a quality book. You may have a potential book when you have a great concept, but it doesn't go past potential because you have not focused on the details of those particular books. So that's with Amazon and any other platform. Like, they will take your book, they'll take your manuscript, but details are so important. Yep, Tracy knows that very well because she's a writer. She does tons of editing, and she's in the business, she's in the industry, and she's an expert at what she does. So for her to endorse what I'm saying is dope. So appreciate that. Poetry book. Yes, we do publish poetry books as well. And then also poetry books is the same. Like, you just got to be aware of who your readers are. And again, I'm gonna give you guys. I wrote down plenty of notes, so I'm gonna go in the flow of things. But I got my little notes here to make sure I give you all these little details, and I'm gonna come back and then give you some more insight. So what else is there? So what we call indie authors, they account for about 30 to 35% of all ebooks that are sold online, right? But this is the largest English language market. So again, indie authors account for 30 to 35% of all ebook sales in the largest English language market. So making a transaction in the audiobook market and print by demand is a part of that as well. Another thing too is when people, for example, when they self-publish, right? So a lot of people take the self-publish route because it's cheaper. It's for them, it's a little bit easier, and then also that they feel like they have more control, which is true in a lot of different ways. But self-published books, they can sell without an ISBN number, which again is important to have, because if you don't have an ISBN number, then what happens is they don't track your book sales are not accounted for. So when you are trying to go for awards, or if you are creating a business and they need to track and how much have your book has sold, they can go use your ISBN number. It's like your social security number. Like your book social security number is the ISBN number. So when you are when you're selling your book, it's important to make sure that everything's accounted for, right? So when you have people say, hey, yo, just go to Amazon, buy the book. Hey, go to Barnes & Noble, get the book. Every time they scan that, that's a plus for you. And over time, say 10-year period, it'd be great to think like, hey, this book actually sold 20,000 books over a 10-year period. And we got the data. It's in the system, it's recognized. But a lot of self-published authors, a lot of them just sell the books and do not keep account. And even if you don't have it in the stores, they sell it through the websites, through consignments, conferences, in the back of the room type of situations. A lot of times that can hinder their growth in like getting recognized in a sense, because a lot of these authors do not keep account of the numbers. And for us as a publishing house, we are very much we always push our authors to keep account when we can't keep account. So when you print books, like say with Amazon, or just say with our agency, like our authors would will request 100 books. And even though they pay a certain fee for those 100 books, they can sell their books for whatever price they want. But they should always keep account of it so they know what they're getting on street market value, meaning independently on their own, compared to what they're getting in the stores, or we would say like on Main Street. So Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Target, Walmart. What's the other one? Like Black Beer, I believe, which is in England. So these are some things that you need to know. And so there are more, and then this part is important too, is there are far more to the global book market than just Amazon. If you believe, because again, I'm using Amazon as the main one because Amazon is considered like the number one go-to for independent writers to go publish with. And as a writer, I'm like, no. And also as a brand, a global brand strategist, I'm like, no, you gotta do it better. You gotta go beyond that. So Amazon is one platform and is one area where you can sell stuff. That's great. It's unbelievable. It's a great tool. But when you're trying to go into other particular areas and merge with certain things and travel the world, you got to be aware, like, yes, it could be a pinpoint, it could be a compass using Amazon, right? Have your book on that platform. But that's not accounting like having a conversation with someone who owns 100 stores that is independently owned or a franchise and saying, hey, would you be willing to put 1,000 books in your stores? And they saying yes. So you got to be aware of the nooks and crannies of these other places and other stores and places where you can have your books available in other countries because they want English. They may want an English written book that's about empowering women or about entrepreneurship. So if you can be able to find and tap into those particular platforms as well, you'll be able to sell more books and get more brand recognition as an author. And also, more importantly, you'll be able to see how far you can go with your content. How am I doing, y'all? Talk to me. Thumbs up. Any questions thus far? What are some of your thoughts about what I just shared with you thus far? And this is just data. Data is important. I think if you don't have the data, if you don't have someone with you before you are writing or after you written and trying to help you rebrand, then you need to, you gotta switch it a little bit. You gotta do the research. You gotta have the data, and you gotta be aware of everything that you're about to get into. Because if you don't, again, history and factual information is very important, because if you don't have the historical reference, and if you don't have facts and data to back it up, then everything that you're going to do is going to be wasting your money. So have, again, historical reference. So looking at stuff from like the past 5 years when it comes to books, what books sold the most in what particular area. Also looking at, what is selling, what is not selling, what platforms are the best to sell books at. Show me the data, show me the facts, show me historical reference points. These are important. So as a publisher, I tell my authors, I have people who we turned down or said we can't work with you because they wanted their book to be a certain way. It was like, it's not going to work there because here's the data, here's the facts, here's what your readers are looking like, and this is what they want to do, and you're not listening. So your perspective on your market is very low, it's very narrow because you didn't do the research. But we've done the research for you because as publishers, this is what we do, right? Like we got a team, and you got me as your seller, getting you from one location to the next, and being able for you to see another particular territory that you never thought you'd be able to be inspired to go see. But now that they got your book, now that they seen your picture and know what you're about and what you've done in the past, and now this book is giving you insight about it, they want to be there too. You know what I mean? So, all right, and now, so here's something that's very interesting, and I'm gonna just use this particular data so people can understand. So, for one, like for example, in the U.S., in 1965, right? 1965, only 6.7% of children's books had included Black characters. Deep, right? But in 2013, there was only 10% of that. So it only jumped up a couple of points in 2013, right? So right now, probably about 12% now. So and that's in 1965, right? To 2013. Why do I share that? Because now that I share it, and you know that the percentage is low. If you are a African American writer and you looking to do a children's book, you automatically know that there's a lane wide open for it. There may be grants, there may be platforms, there may be schools that want more children's books where there is a representation of more black characters in the children's books. So if you know this based upon data, you can be like, I'm gonna do a whole series and I'm gonna literally be the big fish in a small pond. And so again, data is important because if you got the data, you got the facts, you got the historical reference points, you can literally hit gold every time. And I'm gonna share some of my personal experiences as well about this as well. 67% of self-published titles are actually written by women. So women make up majority of the books that are at the titles, or the quote unquote the books that are out in the market now. So overall, 67% of the titles that you see, that you hear about, are written by women. It's a big deal. And it's also the same thing when it goes to reading. Majority of readers, individuals, consumers of books are women. Powerful, powerful. Again, another piece of data before I go into the marketing aspect. The U.S. books remains one of the most important, products in anybody, like around the country. So again, U.S. books remain an important part of the consumer's daily lives. And again, this is literally by data. 650 million books are purchased a year at minimum in the United States. Again, 650 million. Print books, again, remains the most popular format amongst U.S. consumers. So no matter how many books you write an ebook version or you do audio, remember the most popular book format wise is a hardcover or softcover book. Now I always define again hardcover and softcover, but when people say a printed book, again, printed is softcover and hardcover. 2019 audiobooks generated over $1 billion. So again, if you have a book or plan on getting a book, tap into all of it. Prince is here to stay. Absolutely. It's definitely not going anywhere. I mean, Prince has been here since the beginning of time. We used to call them scrolls back then, right? Our ancestors called them scrolls, but they were considered print. We will call them print now. So again, remember this, 650 million books are sold every year in the U.S. alone. What's up, Sue? And then in audio books, $1 billion in general revenue. So if you got a book, every format is important. Softcover, hardcover, ebook, audio, mess around and turn it into a TV show or cartoon or something of that caliber. But if you are able to create all these formats, you have a better opportunity in capturing beautiful opportunities and situations because your content is of quality, you've done the research, and you also provide it on every platform. Okay? All right, so that's my data thus far. But keep in mind too, we're in a pandemic, so of course some of the percentages drop dramatically because schools have closed. A lot of schools have closed, and there's a lot of in-home schooling. So I believe we dropped about something like like 200 million, something like that. But because the first quarter, which is for you to know, is that first quarters are always the slowest. So the first quarter of every year, books don't sell as swiftly as the other quarters, right? And then we got the pandemic that hit. So you got first quarter was slow, right, for this year. And then the pandemic hit, and then we got quarantined, like I think what was that, like March, April. So when that hit, think about all the people who, like myself, who published a book, had a whole tour going, about to prep and go, and then we get quarantined. So now, if you don't have an ebook, if you don't have audio, if you don't have the books prepared, they don't know nothing. Nobody knows nothing about your book. So it was important to know that some of the things that you probably would have the opportunity to have for this year may not have happened if you are currently a writer or have a book, but not to worry, because over time, if you continuously have a strategy in place, you can always, over time, it can get bigger and better. So I always tell people, just be optimistic, just always figure things out, create new strategies, keep the one that you already had in play for this year, because that's probably gonna be able to be used for next year. But always remember that you gotta always make a little curve or something. You gotta enhance it just a little bit, make a quick change, but don't just throw away your strategy, because that is something that you definitely will use in the long run. I mean, I've done it all the time. So yeah, so that's my thing. So all right, so here's the thing. So I'm gonna jump into the marketing piece, because a lot of you are like, well, and again, if y'all have any specific questions, please feel free, and I'll let you know. So before the marketing piece, let me tell you how the publishing process goes, right? Like how it should go, because that way you'll be aware when you're going through the process what it's going to be like, right? So first off, before anything, if you have your title, or if you have like some of your book prepared, the first thing you should do is submit it to get copyright. And it probably was about $65, something like that, but you can do it online. I think it's like copyright.gov. You can literally, you submit it ain't gotta be a finished product. It can be literally 3 pages, or it could be a synopsis. As long as there's a concept about the title, about what you're doing, submit it, get it copyrighted. It take about maybe 1 to 3 months for you to receive your document that shows that your title is official. Nobody can steal that particular book concept, because it's your title, it's your synopsis, it's yours, right? So we always said, again, this is what we do. So after that process has been done, you go through your writing, you do all the stuff you want to do, get the concepts together, boom, have a draft of it, send it over to be edited, right? Lots of editing. We have 3 editors on staff, so we do a rotation. So the first wave of edits go, second wave comes again, third wave comes again, but there's a lot of checkpoints, right? So when the first edits are done, we send it back to our writers, which will probably be you. You get your manuscript back from the first drafts. You go through to read the entire thing again. With our notes, with all the grammatical errors, check those off or whatever. You check what you like, you change what you don't like, you keep what you want, even if we gave you a recommendation. But again, it's just your book, so you make the decision. From there, you always remember this: when you're editing your book, or you're getting your book edited, you want to make sure that the editor does not edit your voice out of your book. A lot of writers give their books to a person, and when they edit the book, it's no longer their voice. It doesn't when you read it, it doesn't sound like the author. So you might just give it to somebody else to just ghostwrite for you, right? So make sure that the editors does not edit out your voice in the book. Make sure your book has your voice throughout the entire process. It's very important. You want to be authentic and transparent in your book, so when they read it, they can hear you, not somebody else, whoever could be your representative. That's important, right? So once the edits are done and completed, and we have a mock-up and while the edits are going on, you should have someone literally do a mock-up of your cover, and so what the cover will look like. And then so once that is approved and checked off, what we do is we send the edited manuscript after it's finalized. We send the mock-up of the book cover to our book designer and so once we do that, what tends to happen is it takes sometimes it takes within the same week, other times it takes 1 to 3 weeks. And when that happens, you'll receive 3 different versions of your book, right? And so authors get super excited when they see this, because they're literally seeing something that was on Microsoft Word now is being fully designed in a layout, beautiful in colors. The text is on point. It looks literally like a children's book. It looks literally like a autobiography. Like, it's one of the most amazing things, right? It's like when a woman goes to get checked up when she's pregnant, and they show it up on the screen. It's like, oh, there's the baby. They go to legs. Like, that's literally what it feels like. I mean, I don't know. I'm a guy, but I'm assuming like that's what it would feel like, right? So, but I always say that when you are birthing a book, you're literally birthing a child. Like, it's your child. Like, this is your baby. So it goes through an entire process, and you want to make sure that whoever is going to be there as your support team, that they're going to make sure and help them take care of this baby together. You know what I mean? Like, this is a beautiful process. And once you, and again, it's a beautiful thing to see a thought. Like, it's in here, and then you see it like here, like here. You know what I'm saying? Like, here, this is a book. Like, oh my God, but it was in here first. So you got to be aware that whoever is the person that's going to be publishing your book, or even if you decide to go self-publish, you still need a support team. I don't care what anybody say. If your book is already published, you still need a support team to help guide you, whether it's consultants, whether it's someone that's been in the industry, a person who's been selling many books. That's important. You know what I'm saying? So I have 18 babies. I have 18 of these babies, but I've also got about another 10, 15 babies that I didn't birth, but I was helping help support and birth, like this one, right? So just want to make sure you guys got that. Let me see. Can you speak on how important? Let me see what you guys. Great analogy. Thank you very much. Chad, what's up, my brother? Can you speak on how important it is to have a personal, accessible relationship with your editor versus Googling a editor that has shown results that may not be in subculture? Okay, yeah, that's a good point. You really do need to have a relationship with your editor. And I know Tracy that's on here that's listening, I know she can vouch for that as well. You do want to make sure that you have a good relationship with your editor, and also they're aware of what you're trying to write and what you're trying to say. A lot of times you may have an editor who may not know the culture where you're from, a part of, like the lingo and all that. So you got to be mindful that, again, when they make these edits, that they don't edit your voice out. So if you're using slang in the book, but your readers that you're marketing to understands that because they speak that same language, don't let the editor say, hey, you got to change this. No. You are writing a book for your readers. You know what I'm saying? You're not writing it for, someone who's getting a PhD right now. You're probably talking to a young person who's in the 9th grade or 8th grade, and this is the time, this is what they use, So you want to be able to understand, know your readers, and make sure that your editor knows your readers as well. And they should be able to work with you. Like, they should be able to understand, they get it, and they also can make sure that they work with you along the entire process as well. Very important, very important. What else I have for you? Where was the thing I had? Where was my notes? I had it. Boom. Sorry guys, I had a note that I wanted to make sure that I gave y'all. But again, let me know what y'all think. The best friend to see your work as a tangible item. That's a fact. Yes, picking an editor is like picking a school for your child. Who are you trusting your baby to? That's a great point. That's a great analogy. Absolutely. So again, you got to make sure that your editor is with you along the entire process, because they're going to get credit for it too. And you do not want to have a weak edit on your entire book. You don't want that. That's it. You really don't. Because in the beginning, I really understood that later when I decided to really go in and do quality books, because in the beginning, it was a trial and error for me. But as I became more of an expert in publishing, but also an expert in book writing, and had people around me who were in the industry for 20, 30 years, I understood and recognized that how a book that you create now can live 20 years from now and still be picked up and purchased. Like, think about all the books that's coming out 10 years, 20, 30 years ago and still are bestsellers, right? 48 Laws of Power has been out for how long? Good to Great by Jim Rohn. How long it's been out? Like, Good to Great by Jim Collins, right? There's so many. There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics, like by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Like, these books are considered classic books. Listen, these books are around for 20, 30 years, and they're still being talked about today because they're great in content. They're transparent, easy reads because it speaks your language, but more importantly, it's of your reading level, right? So make sure you keep that in mind with everything. Now, again, once you have your editing processes done and we send everything over to the graphic designer, the book designer, the book formatter, and everything is set, you just check off what you like. And once that's done, we add whatever little details, the ISBN number, all that stuff. We literally go through the process of asking you you should be asked about your pricing for your book, how much it's gonna cost to make one book, and then also the pricing that you wanna have for market value, right? For street market value. And then once that is set, we put everything into the system, and then, hold on, let me see what you guys are saying. Once everything goes into the system, we send everything out to the printer, so that way we get two proofs of your book. So it's an official book. We send it out to the authors. So you get the book, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you go through the whole book. You feel it, you smell it, you look at the words, you look at the title. You're like, I like the way it looks. Put it on the table, take a couple pictures with it. Put it on the kitchen table, put it outside, throw it somewhere. don't really throw it, because it means your only book, and if you don't like it, like it's your first print, you should really want to take care of it and then like frame it like I do. But I really think that you should really like enjoy it, show it to people, let's like get their observation, get their thoughts about it, advice, and you rock with it. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what you said. Let's see. Let me see. I'm trying to see. Everything is merging together. Always remember, books are a business too as you evolve in these processes. That's a fact. Always remember that books are a business too as you evolve in these processes. That's correct. So again, make sure that you all perfect. So make sure that you all are aware of this, and okay, aware of that as well. And of course, the processes in which I'm sharing with you. Once you have your book, and even prior to your book coming out, we talk about royalties, because royalties is important, right? So when you publish, specifically if you self-publish, you're considered an owner, but you want to make sure that you own. I'm big on ownership of your book. If you go to a big publishing house, nine times out of 10 they own the rights to your book. Once you kind of sign over your rights and they give you like an advance, we're a little bit different. What we say is, what we do is we give complete control over, in terms of the ownership, back to the authors. So that way they feel comfortable and know that if they decide to say, hey, I got a bigger deal, I actually got a deal with a bigger publishing house, and we would like to go forth with that. Now they know automatically, based upon the information that I gave them, that they will have to sign over their rights for the book, and that way for their advance or whatever that may be. But that's fine, because we get excited for that, because I love to see authors rise and go beyond from the start process, right? And for us to guide them through the process. So all we ask with our authors is that if they're at a table to turn their book into a movie, a producer or a studio comes to them, or they get like a major deal that they need a representative for, that they would keep us on as that person, so as that publisher, so that we can represent them as their publisher from beginning to end. So and in return, of course, they keep their ownership of their books, and we also make sure that we do the proper research for them to make sure that they do not get gypped out of any extra money and things of that caliber. Now also to be aware too that royalties are important. So with our authors, we always ask them, if something happens where you blow up and become this huge celebrity, or your second book blows up and it causes people to buy your first book and you start making thousands or millions, we need to know, if God forbid something happens to you, who does your royalties go to? A lot of writers, a lot of authors do not think about that. So when they publish with someone and they pass away, and they didn't have something like that set up, they end up, the company ends up keeping the money, because there was nowhere in the contract that it would go to whatever family member or someone's son, someone's daughter. So we're big on legacy. We're big on generational wealth. So every one of my authors are building generational wealth, because we promote them. As long as Madison and Park is up and running around the world, we are promoting all of our authors. So whoever you have as your publishing house, you make sure that they promote you, and make sure that they are also you have in your contract or your agreement where your royalties will go, or negotiate it where they may get a percentage of your royalties when you pass, but the majority will go to whoever that may be. So that's important. I'm big on that, because you know what I'm saying, like I'm huge on that. And so once I notice, I got the kids walking around. So once you notice, it's really you'll have a better understanding of the business too. So make sure you keep that in mind. So that's mainly the process. And then once it's done, there's like literally you pick your book signing. So for us now, it's like online book signings, right? People send books out, and then they do a big book signing release online because of the pandemic. But the books go out, the book could be out the next day. Once you approve it, we submit everything in, it gets approved, it gets on the distribution chain. Literally 24 hours, 48 hours, it's in the stores. It's done. It's there. And you can Google it, you can look on Barnes and Nobles, all that. But we always tell our authors to give yourself at least 30 to 60 days. Some give them, the max would be 90, but give yourself at least 30 to 60 days from the time your book is finished. So we know your book is going to be finished on, let's say, December 31st. We said just put your book out in February 1st. So that way you got time to just promote and market it. And then you're also legally able to get pre-orders of your book prior to it coming out. You can literally promote a book 90 days out from the time it's going to be released. So you can literally get pre-orders. So that way, if you're paying to get your book published or whatever you're trying to do with it, you can already gain the revenue prior to the book coming out. Now, if you got a solid team and they're on point with social media, they're on point with their marketing and their branding, you can literally just do your thing for months in advance, because most books, they start to die out after 6 months. But if you got a good team, you got a good strategy, you can run the whole year and it can just do nothing but level up from there. So that's what I got thus far for y'all. So talk to me. Let me know what I'm doing, how I'm doing, what y'all thinking. I'm gonna get into the marketing piece, and then I got one more section for y'all, and then I'm good. Now, real quick. So if you want some thoughts from like the books, I'm gonna show you a book that's really like powerful for me. So this is my memoir, right? I'm gonna share numbers with y'all. So this is 123. This is my memoir. I think this is like book number 4 out of 18, right? I wrote this book. Let me see what year and this is what I mean when I say I have a quality book. All right. So this book, so you can put this in perspective, go to the copyright page. All right, I published this. I redid the branding and marketing of this, right? This book was all black. It just said 123 on it. And I published this probably back in 2016. Well, 2009, I believe, was the first edition. But then 4 years ago, I rebranded this. Now, here's what's crazy. Once I really started to rebrand and do partnerships and do the branding piece, I was in Germany on a global tour for this book, right? Now watch this. This is what I mean when I say how publishing is powerful. This book came out 2015, right? Remember this. The first edition came out around 2009. I rebranded this in 2016, a year after this book. But I was still on tour with this book. I'm in Germany with this book. I end up getting a phone call in the United States saying, hey, Ra, could you come do a mini tour in the city back in Jersey? I said, yeah, absolutely. How powerful publishing is and how powerful it is to do it in hometowns that you're from, and specifically when it comes to schools and colleges, high schools as well, but also colleges. I know my readers, so they wanted to focus on high school students. Perfect. This is the book is for. It's for teenagers. It's an easy read. It's like a 5 to 8th grade reading level, but they went to high school, so I already knew inner city. Boom, right? They offered me. They bought 800 copies of this book, right? That was the first thing. But of course, when you're an author and you have a team, that's a brand strategy. You're like, whoa, you can't just send you books. These kids need to understand and know that I'm alive. Like, I come from where they're from. So let's figure out a way for me to come there and do a mini tour physically there, and I can sign the books. I can have lunch with the kids, take pictures. We can film it, everything, right? We end up doing a 3-day tour. 3 days. Each seminar was about 30 minutes. I spent we call it a half a day, right? So 3 days, half a day, 800 books. It was 3 different high schools, right? 3 days. They paid $30,000, and then they paid for the full price of $10 per book, which is what? That's what? I don't know. But 800 books times that by 10, which is like, I think, $8,000. And then they also paid 30, because at the time, my speaking fee was $10,000. So you do 3 days and they do 800. That was it. So this book, though, was out for years. It was out already for years. But because it's a quality book and it was still being promoted because I was on tour with this one, people bought this book. And to this day, this is still one of the most purchased books outside of Skyscraper. Again, I have to be transparent with you because, again, the power of publishing. Now, why is that important? Because when you have a book, one of the big things you want to have with your books is a curriculum. I'm giving y'all just free jewels right now. Have a curriculum with your book. because if you do, that means you can put it into the school system. Put it into the school system. The school system gives you a grant. It can give you a contract if it makes sense for the school. If you can do that and you can pitch it and you can make it happen, voila, game day. Any questions? Talk to me. Let me know how I'm doing, what you think about it. Same thing with this book. Sonia, which we're going to talk, well, tomorrow she is posted up. She ends up publishing the book about a year ago. It's been 1 year now. She had an idea. She had an idea to be a consultant for 2 years with one of the biggest, I guess it was like a smart city in her area. We published her book. She ends up leveraging it, right? She leveraged it to get her PhD, which she just got accepted to, using the book as well. And then she gets a contract. The contract was a little bit over, I believe it was like over 80,000. But the thing was, she used the book. The book didn't even come out yet. But because she used the book, because we gave her the layout, she used the book, leveraged it, and ended up doing a 2-year contract with one of the biggest companies in her area dealing with smart cities. And now she's going for a PhD, and the work that she's doing is specifically on this book. Her book signing was at this amazing, beautiful castle. It was just beautiful. So my thing is that when you know your readers and you have a strategy and you know what you're trying to target, what you're trying to hit, you will definitely hit it because of the fact that everything about it is solid. So, question, let me see. Sue, you said, would you publish a comic book or a graphic novel? Yes, I have not published a comic book yet, but that would be dope. Or a graphic novel, absolutely. If it makes sense, knowing what it'll be catered to, how we leverage it, absolutely. So again, anything creatively, uniquely that I can use to empower people, to motivate, inspire. These are books that you definitely want to be able to, we would love to have, you know what I mean? Because you got a couple, I know you do. All right, so here's some things really quick, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to make sure that y'all have these quick notes, all right? So here's 3 things that you need to know when it comes to your audience. So if you're writing a book, or if you have a book already and you need to rebrand it, you need to make sure, or need to figure out you're working on another book, here's some things to remember. Know your audience. Following is 3 areas. 1 is their language. Know the language that they understand. Again, you can talk, you can write, but make sure you write that they can understand it. Put it in their language. 2, know the needs of your reader, of your audience that you're trying to target. If you know their needs, make sure your book is being promoted as such. Know their needs and then try to fulfill it through the book, right? Like maybe they're like, yo, we would need to see more representation of unity or of multicultural, so whatever it may be, show it on the book. If it's not, if the market doesn't have it, create it. If you are a writer and it's like, wait, like somebody just said poetry, like if there are a lack of poetry books in a community that you would like to impact or empower, write the poetry book, because again, that opens the door and gives you recognition to be able to do other things as well, because now they know you as a writer, they know that you fulfill the need. So now if you do anything else, they'll be open to hear or open to read what you have. So make sure you keep that in mind. And then 3, know what their likes and dislikes are. Give me a second, y'all. I'm off my battery. Slip it a little bit. But again, know the likes and dislikes of your audience, because once you do, it makes it easier for you to know how to write something. All right, give me 1 second because I don't want to lose y'all. So let me know, is any of this information kind of helping y'all? Okay, I see. I appreciate this information. Thanks so much. Perfect. That's all I want to know. Like, is it helping y'all? Let me know. Boom. If I can put that there. Gonna work. May lean a little bit, but so tell me, y'all, what you think. And then let me see. I got something here for y'all. So the last thing, though, is for you to identify your market. Right? Who can you easily advertise to? Make your book so high of quality that as perfect as possible. Like really, like speak the language of your readers, of your market, because it's important. Also, remember that you need to create a campaign for your book. Like that's important as well. When you're publishing your book, or whoever decides to publish your book, that's important. So even if you are still in the writing stages, keep an eye out for people who actually are good at marketing. And if you can, and you got somebody good, definitely kind of give them the concept and see if they can really help you out and make that happen for you. Okay. Now listen, I got literally like 4 minutes left, but does any of you have any questions, any thoughts before we close out? Because I wanted to just make sure y'all had enough information, because this is so important for a lot of you that have books or know people who are writing books. So just let me know, and then I'll make sure I can answer it really briefly. Again, I talked about editing and then creating your book reviews. And so important is that the last thing too is that when you have a book and when you publish a book, to make sure that you have you get reviews and use it, because your reviews, your endorsements are important. They actually speak for you, right? You can say, "Oh, my book is amazing." No. If the readers say your book is amazing, it's amazing. Because I know we are very sensitive about our things, about our books and all that, because we're like artists, right? So you do that. You make sure that you definitely want to make sure that you have enough reviews that people can be like, "Yo, I'm a rock with this book." And it also helps build your author brand. Because again, you don't want to be the author that has books that's like, "Oh, his books has so many edits, so many misspellings, I'm not reading this." And because now it's like, I'm supporting you, but you do a disservice to my intellect. Like, come on now, like I can't read this. I want to support you, but you need to get this together. So make sure you do that, you know what I'm saying? And then if anything, get press releases. So anytime you got a partnership with somebody, or you're going to speak somewhere, or whether you just do a community service outreach program and you're going to give out books to like 10 kids, do a press release about it. Everything counts. Anything your book, wherever your book is, talk about it. You're an author. You are becoming an author. Like, talk about it, because it's very, very important. Okay? All right, look, it's 8:01. I got to stop it here because I don't want to go over the time. I said I would do it at 7. I stay here for at least an hour, and I don't want to I'm going to do a lot. But I hope that the information that I provided for you all was solid. I hope that you got a lot from it. I hope that it helped, kind of give you some more better understanding of what we do. And again, somebody said, let me see, pricing. So what you do is you can go to my website. Let me see if I can tap it in here. So it's madpar.com, which is, let me see. I think I posted it. Yep, there we go. So you go to madpar.com, pin it, boom. And what you're going to do is, Madison and Park, what you do is you send an inquiry about if you want to publish a book, or if you have a book and you already have it published, but you may want consulting from us. So we can be a consulting for you to help you rebrand your book or put together a strategy so you can actually leverage it even more. So whatever it may be clear about what you are giving an inquiry about. If you're trying to be published, when you submit the inquiry, they'll send you a proposal, or I think they'll send you a request to have a 15-minute consultation. Either be with me or one of the project managers, and all we're going to do is give you the full, a lot of you already have the breakdown, but we'll just send you a proposal with our fees, and then from there you can let us know what you want. And then we also do create unique, just kind of whatever is tailored to what you have, so we can evaluate your book or your project or your up and coming book, and we can tell you exactly what we can and can't do. And we always try to work with it. So every month we do about 2 authors. We try our best to also be able to, for those who are trying to get it there. What we do is we tell them, give us your number and we'll see what we can do, because that's our give back. We know that authors who have great concepts, who have great books, but they may not have the budget for it, specifically in these times as well. So we're very understandable of that. But again, we don't take everyone's manuscript, and we're not saying that the manuscript is not up to par or nothing. It's just based upon what we know when we do our research and know what we can and what we can't do. So again, whether it's for consulting work or if it's for us to get information about publishing your book through our Madison and Park, just go to the website, shoot an inquiry, and you'll get all the pricing, all the breakdowns, and everything like that. Cool. So I wish y'all all the best on this amazing, beautiful Sunday evening. It was such a great first time doing this. So next week, I think I'm doing something else. I don't know if I'm going to do it on marketing or whatever, but shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think I should talk about next week, or in the middle of the week. I think during the middle of the week, I'll be doing stuff on like more personal development. But on Sundays, I want to specifically talk about things that we do within the agency and also what we do when it comes to marketing and the publishing side. So other than that, you all be blessed, highly favored, and thank you so much for rocking with me tonight. Take care.